Corey Behnke here with CHTV. So the draft is coming up in a month or so, and the Neville's doing some cool stuff, and we really just wanted to accent and highlight what's going on. The Neville is part of the Packers Heritage Trail. You got to check that video out. On the top, you'll see there's a link to the actual Packers Heritage Trail video. So I just wanted to point that out, and we've got these really cool signs all across Green Bay that show where the Heritage Trail is. So it's a fun activity to do. Again, we'll have the link to the video. Our buddy Sean Connolly did this awesome video for us with drone footage and everything. But today I'm going to talk to Beth. She runs the museum, and let's go on in. I'm here with Beth Kowalski. She is the director of the Neville Museum and a friend. I've known her for a few years now. And Beth, how's it going? How's your Friday?
It's going great. I can't believe it's it's March and we're going to count down to the draft, and it's a gorgeous day outside in Green Bay.
So I know a lot about this exhibit, Delay of Game. I know you guys are doing a special version of this. This was a very inspiring exhibit for me, but can you just tell us kind of like what inspired you to create? This is a smaller version. The one that you had that won awards. Yes. So this exhibit is specifically about Black players in Green Bay's experience.
Correct. So back when the Packers were at their 100th anniversary, our job here at the Neville is not necessarily stats in statistics. It's really about bridging communities and connecting generations. And our curator at the time came and said, "Can we talk about more of the community story?" And I said, "Tell me more." And obviously, when Coach Lombardi came to the area, he wanted families to stay together and be recruited, players recruited, and families here. The challenge was, there wasn't necessarily fair housing for a lot of our African American Packer players. And so from that curatorial vantage point, we looked at what was going on and what was happening nationwide, globally, as well as regionally right here for housing during the Lombardi era for African American Packer players. And again, not necessarily the fairest. So Coach Lombardi, I think, had a lot of impact in changing some things while he was here and making families very welcome to Green Bay.
I think that a lot of people don't realize, I think that a lot of Packers fans realize how progressive Coach Lombardi was, but I think it always makes me proud as a Packer fan to understand the history. And even this hat, I had Spencer Young, who does the Packers fence now that we sponsored for about 7 years across from Lambeau. Emlyn Tunnell, I bought his book because of this exhibit, and I read about him. And the more I've talked to players about him, I talked to Dave Robinson about Emlyn Tunnell, and Dave said, look, he was a culture hire. He was a man to help Lombardi bring Black players here and give them a cultural experience. And I never Emlyn Tunnell is in the Hall of Fame for the New York Giants, and he's one of the greatest defensive backs of all time. So talk to me about what were some of the things that kind of that's something I learned, but what were some of the things that surprised you?
It's kind of this legacy. So Lombardi just had a way with him, and he knew how to bring people together, and that, I don't want to call it, maybe it's not mentor mentee, but bringing in players and making them feel welcome, and then passing that tradition on. I think that's what's unique to the Packers.
Yeah.
And we still see some of that today. It's not just our small market here, but it really is the philosophy of you're coming together as a team, and Lombardi did that and bridged those gaps and those barriers where he really wanted all the players, both Caucasian and African American, to be on the same playing field, and he really helped do that. And then those players went on and may not have stayed in Green Bay, but then had influence on other players. And and again, becoming the place where you can recruit back here. And we see that still today. That's the cool part about it, is we still see a lot of give back from players, whether it's their own private charity. A lot of players could have left, but some stay. So Harry Sidney, he's still here, and he was part of this exhibit process too. And I emailed him and said, Harry, we're bringing back a smaller version of it, but just a heads up, so that. And he was like, I'm so appreciative. I can't wait to come back and see it. But he didn't have to stay here, and he has his own nonprofit here helping youth in our community. So that's what I think, again, I wish I could go back to Lombardi time and you know, you can read everything about it, but just being in that moment and carrying that forward.
Well, and our friend Donald Driver, he's in Milwaukee. You have an exhibit. You have a little piece of Donald Driver history that we will definitely take a look at. And Reggie White, and you know, the Packers, to your point, still do this. Like in the new facility they built for players, they actually have the hairstylists come to the facility, so they really try to cater it to the players. And I think Lombardi really started that.
So yes, in 2019, this was multiple graphics, a big pop-up timeline. Now with technology, we have this interactive where we can put the U.S. history, the Packer history, and just general football history together. So again, there's the touch points in time, and they give you just a little fact. And the best part is, if history changes,
you can change it.
We can change it. We can go in and we can add.
Well, I love how it's like tied to, like, you know, Brown versus Board, right? Where are we in time when people are learning stuff? It's like how, because to the fact, like Walter Jean being technically one of the first black players to ever play for the Packers, and not people knowing that. I mean, that's the thing that I love about kind of like when you learn about history, when you really understand. Today, we're not so far from 1930 or 1940
no, we are
or
not.
1960,
we're not.
and we think we're so far, but we don't time isn't necessarily linear.
Correct.
For us as humans, and I think that's really fascinating. Dave Robinson, hey, he's one of my favorite players. Well, definitely met him many times. Amazing man. We are, CHTV, our charity sponsor, is Pro Football Retired Players Association. He's on the board for it.
Fantastic.
So I've had it was interesting, kind of, I got to talk to him about actually this exhibit and some of the players he got to play with, which was really fascinating to kind of get that piece.
So here we were able to bring a lot of history into one interactive and keep it contemporary and relevant, but pay tribute to the past and stay forward.
Nice. Let's, I want to take a look at the photos you guys got.
Yes.
Awesome. This is the second exhibit that Beth and the team have assembled, and this is one of my favorite photographers of all time. Obviously, some of you know the Stiller stamp is considered, like, if you have a photograph with the Stiller stamp, that's real stuff. And the Neville Museum, the Stiller's
collection was gifted to us.
Right, and the license too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're very fortunate. You know, again, you go back in time. Did Otto Stiller know how to capture these moments in time, or was he just having fun, or how was, you know,
just doing his job?
Doing his job. Amazing photographer, early photographer here in Green Bay, and yeah, he gifted us his collection, and so we have a sampling of it. The way we arranged this Lens Legends was to look at Otto Stiller, Hank Lefebvre, and the Press Gazette collection, as well as our film collection. And in that case, they picked out images and curated images that are really community stories, because again, yes, there are Packer players in the early teams. We thought that was important, but there really are community shots. And when we get into the Press Gazette collection, it's really about where the Packers were invested into the community.
Well, I love like this, like Hagemeister Park is like it's rare to see any because that's their earliest place they played. And there's a lot of, you know, in fact, council meets and Bellevue. I love the advertising back then too, and like you can, and this picture, this is a classic actually.
This one actually, this is probably this is my favorite, because working for Brown County, I work very closely with the Brown County Parks Department and their director, Matt Creasy. And you know, this is Bayshore County Park, and it's a campground today. And the first time I went out there, I was in love with the escarpment and being able to, you know, see the boat launches. And I was like, I didn't realize Rockwood Lodge was located there. And we got talking one day, and a previous staff member was like, we could probably do some, archaeological work. And I'm proud to say that the work that a previous staff member did made that actually a Brown County archeological site with the state of Wisconsin.
I did not realize that.
So it has a state now designation as an archaeological site, and all the background and the research is pretty cool. So
for those of you that don't know, this building right here, it burned down, and there's controversy around it because some people have said that some people burned it down on purpose. Believe they didn't. No one. Did someone die? Because
I don't know.
No, they left the building before, but it was on fire. But this is where the Packers used to train, Rockwood Lodge. And funnily enough, in Lambeau, there's a Rockwood Lodge, and it's really, really important. You can see Curly Lambeau here. Really, really important to how the Packers trained and did everything. Yes. You say his name right.
Hank LaFay.
LaFay. Okay, I've
I
said
know,
it.
it's tricky.
I've
I have to-
garbaged it so many times, but this is a classic of Arnie Herber. This is actually on auction. There's one of these is on auction right now, and of course Lambeau. But he after Stiller. He took on the legacy of the Packers photography.
Yes. Yep, again, another storyteller, but looking through that lens and just capturing these moments in time. And, he gifted us his collection. So right now this is all Packer images, but upstairs we have a whole series of weddings that he did where they're more candid pictures, but the clarity and the crispness of how. But it's also they're not necessarily just all pose pictures. They're much more fluid. And, so
you can catch character.
Exactly.
Yeah, even in these, you can tell they're less of the posed photos, which is really cool. Oh, my house is over here. So my house hasn't been built yet on this because I remember because the farm is here. I love what's crazy. People don't even realize. Like when they first built Lambeau, there was a farm on the property. Like a farm. That's so Wisconsin. There's nothing more Wisconsin than that.
Anytime we share the aerials, the conversation is, okay, can we find my house?
Yeah, that's what I'm always like.
Looking for
on
it?
these, I'm always like, okay, where's my house? Where's Ridge? Where's, it's just fun. It's so much fun. Like I remember seeing the collection here for the first time, and it's massive, by the way. The photos that the Neville has, it's incredible. But it's so fascinating because even if you're like, you get the local history around the team. That's what's so great about these kind of photos. It's like, yeah, this is a photo of Lambeau, but there's so much historical background and data here that you just learn about if you live here.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
And you think about it when you take off from the airport and you come in, and you're that's your landmark. That's what you're looking for.
Oh yeah, I always when I fly into Lambeau, I used to be like, oh, I'm on the right side to see the stadium, and the pilot will be like, yeah, Lambeau's on your left. You're like, damn it, I'm on the right. Let's talk about the news media.
Yes.
How much film and media do you have?
So the estimate is about 1 million photographic negatives. So again, we go back to glass plate negatives all the way up to negatives from the Press Gazette, so the traditional 35 millimeter.
Wow.
But we also have estimated about 4 million feet of film, real film. That has been gifted to us from the local media outlets. So WLUK, WFRV, WBAY, and WPNE, which used to be on Green Bay's campus.
Okay. So this is like a sample of some of the media that you have.
Yes. So from our film collection, which again is a very large collection, most of this film that we have on a loop is from WBAY. Station still here in town, and who gifted us their collection. And we look at just the conversation, some action in play, as well as different interviews components. So some of it's silent, some of it has audio to it with closed captions. So it is, again, just a little loop and a little sampling of our film collection.
Nice. And this was 1957 talking about the draft. So pretty cool. And when I first walked in, it was amazing. I could sit here. You have like the football footage. Maybe the Neville should have like 1 hour of like just watching football footage and drinking beer, drinking Carry the Cheese.
That would be awesome.
That would be fun.
That'd be awesome.
It's really funny. I have some 1940s footage and some 1930s footage, and a lot of times in our tailgate room, I would play it for we'll have the beat writers for training camp. Believe it or not, it's fun to watch football footage back then. It's like so fascinating to because it's just a little bit different game, and it's really cool. This is the coolest McDonald's in Green Bay. I'm not a huge fan of McDonald's, but the fact that Bart Starr and the fact that Bart Starr and his wife went to eat at McDonald's is really cool. And then we get to this is one of the most famous photographers, right?
Well, this is multiple photographers. This is the Press Gazette collection.
Got it.
So the photojournalists that were working for the Press Gazette at the time, if we have an attribute, sometimes the envelopes upstairs will tell us who the photojournalist is. Sometimes we don't necessarily have that information.
But this is more lifestyle stuff where it's like the Press Gazette, like Packers Wives, or Love Willie Davis, like looking at records. Like it's more cultural.
Right? Vince getting a telegram from, I think it was President Kennedy, congratulating him.
That's cool.
But it is the Packers. You might see them in uniform, or you might not see them, but it's them in their neighborhoods, in their communities. There are a lot of images, like a photojournalist could be out, photographing a neighborhood picnic, and they might, so it's just really kind of cool showing the community impact that the Packers have and have still today.
Yeah. Well, JFK, so the Packers ended their 17-year championship drought. So hopefully we don't have another one of those. That would be nice not to happen. I think we're gonna go to check out the Packers mural.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yep.
Let's do it. Our friend Spencer. So Spencer made this hat right here. Spencer Young, Forever Young Designs, and the Neville Museum actually had Spencer and Zane. So Zane Stats, another local artist. And so Zane and Spencer originally did the Packers fence across from Lambeau. CHTV has sponsored that fence for, I think this is gonna be our 10th year.
That's awesome.
And now Spencer does it himself, and Zane does a different fence on Lombardi. And Lombardi, it's really fascinating to see Lombardi Avenue have these murals and become a part of our culture.
Absolutely. So when we redesigned the core gallery, we knew we were going to have the hometown advantage, because when we surveyed folks, they said you have to keep that film footage, right? And our curator at the time said, you know, I don't remember who she knew exactly, but she's like, I think I can get to, could we just get a quote on what it could be to, instead of just, you know, having a vinyl graphic or a printed graphic, could we actually get them to do part of a fence?
Yep.
And so we met with them, and they said, what are you hoping for? And again, we were converting the space between 2019 and 2020, again at that 100-year anniversary. So we had delay of game, the exhibit up in a temporary space, and we provided them our historical images, as you saw downstairs, and we said we want to blend it from past to present. So that's where they came up with the design for going from the black and white images all the way up to where we're at present day when we opened the gallery in 2020. And so having that key and that piece here just brings a lot to the space, because we love funding artists within our exhibits.
Yeah.
Local artists, that's really important to us. We try to build our budgets so that way every project we do, either working with a graphic designer that helps us with a part, or, you know, a mural artist, so that way again their stories within this story.
Yeah.
And so,
well, and this room is part of a larger, like this is a small part of a larger part of the culture here in Green Bay.
Correct.
And there's some things where, you know, the maritime stuff is great, but then the businesses that we don't have anymore, and being able to see like bars and stuff.
We go from the Ice Age, you know, before, you know, Ice Age in the region all the way up to present day. So even our art section rotates from a permanent collection. We have abstract art now. So more contemporary abstract art. So yeah, everything we try to do is about theme, and it kind of carries you through the space. Nice.
Okay, so a lot of you don't know this, but this is here at the Neville. It's really cool. It is actual replica, 1/6 replica. Look, they still have Curly's Pub. I actually have, funny story, I have a Curly's Pub trash can in my garage right now. I don't know what to do with it. A friend of mine gave it to me. It's really cool. But anyway, the Lego Lambeau, so you can actually buy, so what I'm gonna do when I get a little bit more money is I wanna get my Grandpa Behnke, my Grandpa Bruner, and you can actually like get a version of them to forever watch the Packers in Lego Lambeau. And so it's really cool. Like they have all the figurines here, and you can take your own figurine, and I wanna put like my whole family like in their seats. Like my grandpa's seats are like right there on the 50-yard line. Pretty cool, huh?